The franchise just made a decision that has everyone asking if it is brilliance or madness. A veteran receiver returns for the third time in months. Meanwhile, 3 youngsters just proved the future is closer than we thought. And to top it off, the next opponent brings back their injured quarterback just to face us. This is what you need to know right now. News 1. Traylon Burks, Josh Connolly, JR and Jordan McGee. 3 youngsters shine in loss to Broncos. The overtime loss to Denver hurt. 3-9 on the season is not where anyone wanted to be. The team fell after a failed 2-point conversion that sealed the fate. But if you watched that full game, if you stayed until the last second, you know something changed. The energy was different. The team fought with heart, with grit, with something we had not seen in weeks. And in the middle of that battle, 3 young names jumped out in a way impossible to ignore. Let us start with Traylon Burks. This kid came to Washington as an experiment, as a high-risk bet, a former first-rounder from Tennessee who simply did not work out with the Titans. They selected him in the 2022 draft. He had all the talent in the world, 6 feet 3 inches, 225 pounds, 4.5 second speed in the 40-yard dash, elite athleticism. But in Tennessee, he never fit. Injury problems, consistency problems, confidence problems. After just 2 seasons, the Titans let him walk without looking back. Adam Peters saw something no one else saw. He saw the raw talent. He saw the untapped potential. He saw a player who just needed a change of scenery, a new system, a fresh start. And against the Broncos, Burks justified that faith in spectacular fashion. A catch that blew up social media. A catch that appeared on every highlight reel of the week. One hand, full extension, absolute concentration. In the critical moment when the team needed it most, Odell Beckham Jr. gave him public recognition on social media. When OBJ, the owner of one of the most iconic catches in NFL history, shouts you out and compares you to his legendary play, you know you did something special. You know you left your mark. Burke's stat line in that game does not scream, not Pro Bowl numbers, but the play screams. That catch showed elite athleticism, showed soft hands, showed confidence under pressure, showed that a change of scenery really can rescue careers that seemed lost. Terry McLaurin cannot do it alone. We have seen him try for years. Scary Terry is a warrior, a legitimate #1 receiver, but he needs help. Jaden Daniels, when he returns from injury, needs multiple weapons, needs options. If Burks becomes a constant threat, if he can make that play not once but every week, this offense changes completely. Defenses cannot double cover McLaurin the entire game, cannot ignore Burks on the other side. Peters bet when no one else would, signed Burks when he was available, gave him a chance when other teams passed, and Burks answered with the play of the week, with a moment that will stay on the season highlight reel. Now comes the hard part. Now comes the real challenge. Doing it every week, converting that moment into consistency, converting that flash into a reborn career. Let us move to right tackle, Josh Connolly Jr. This kid started the season with massive doubts. Lots of doubts. Too many doubts. First-round pick in the 2025 draft. Immediate pressure to produce. Pressure to protect the quarterback blindside. Faced some of the best edge rushers in the country from the first snap. And early on, he struggled. Really struggled. Allowed pressures. Allowed hits. Criticism came fast and hard. Too young, too raw, too inexperienced. Draft mistake. Wasted first-round pick. But something happened in the last 4 weeks. Something changed. Connolly found his groove, found his technique, found his confidence. 0 sacks allowed in 4 straight games. That is not coincidence. That is not luck. That is real development. That is coaching working. That is a young player maturing before our eyes. Against Denver, Connolly faced his toughest test yet. The Broncos have one of the best defensive lines in the entire league. Elite rushers, complex schemes, pressure from all angles. And Connolly did not just survive. He dominated. 0 pressures allowed. 0. Not once did his man get to the quarterback. Led all offensive tackles in pass blocking snaps in the entire Week 14 of the NFL. That is not just good for a rookie. That is elite for any tackle in the league. Think about what this means for the future. Laramie Tunsil on the left side. Proven veteran, all-pro, one of the best left tackles of the last decade. And now Connolly on the right, showing he can be equally dominant. If this combination stays healthy, if Connolly keeps developing at this rate, Jayden Daniels will have clean time to operate. Will have a clean pocket. Will have elite protection on both sides. Doubts are turning into confidence. Criticism is turning into praise. Those calling for his head are now silent. The future of the offensive line does not just look promising, looks solid, looks like a fortress under construction. And Connolly is a fundamental piece of that fortress. And then there is Jordan McGee. This linebacker has been climbing quietly. Nobody talks about him on national media. Nobody mentions him on television debates. But they should. Against the Broncos, McGee was the highest graded defender on the team according to Pro Football Focus. The best, not just among linebackers, among all defenders. 24 snaps, 6 tackles, 5 defensive stops that killed drives, led the team in stops, flew all over the field like a guided missile. He already did it against Miami 2 weeks earlier. Showed the same intensity, same speed, same instinct. Now he repeated it against Denver. Against a Broncos offense that is among the best in the AFC. This is not coincidence. This is a pattern. This is a player finding his place in the defense. McGee is playing only 24 snaps per game, less than half the game. Imagine what he could do with more time. Imagine if he was a full-time starter. If he played 50 or 60 snaps per game, the numbers would multiply. The impact would multiply. If he proves in these last 5 weeks he can be a starter, that he can maintain this level with more responsibility, Adam Peters will not have to spend as much at linebacker this offseason. Frankie Luvu is already here. Solid veteran we signed in free agency. If Meiji keeps growing next to Luvu, that position gets solved for the next few years. Do not need to spend a high pick. Do not need to sign an expensive free agent. Already have the solution in-house. The defense needs players who fly to the ball, who have instinct, who hit hard. McGee is doing all that. Now he just needs more opportunities to prove it consistently. These 3 players represent something bigger than their individual statistics. They represent real hope. They represent tangible development. They represent that Adam Peters' rebuilding process is working exactly as it should. Peters did not just sign expensive veterans in free agency, did not just bet on big names. He invested in youth with potential, invested in players with raw talent who needed development. And Burks, Connolly and McGee are proving those bets can pay off huge. 3 and 9 hurts. Nobody is going to lie about that. This season has been brutal, has been painful, has been frustrating in ways no fan wanted to experience. But if these 3 guys keep improving every week, if they keep showing this type of development, 2026 looks very different, very promising, very exciting. The culture is changing under Dan Quinn. The youngsters are responding to coaching. Development is happening in real time. That is what builds dynasties in this league. Does not happen overnight. Does not happen with one magical season. But it is happening, brick by brick, player by player. And these 3 names are living proof that the future of this franchise is in good hands. Which of these 3 excites you most for the future? Leave us your comment below. News 2, Robbie Chosen. Commanders bring back Robbie Chosen. The franchise just re-signed Robbie Chosen to the practice squad. Yes, again, for the 3rd time in a matter of months. And the obvious question everyone is asking is, why? What does Adam Peters see in a 32-year-old receiver who has bounced between 6 different teams in just 2 seasons? What value does a player bring who has been cut more times than he has been signed? Robbie Chosen is 32 years old, not young by NFL standards. Started his career with the New York Jets in 2016 as an undrafted free agent from Temple University. Nobody selected him in the draft. Nobody better pick on him, but he earned a roster spot with hard work, had solid moments in New York, seasons where he showed he could be a reliable slot receiver, a 3rd or 4th option type who does his job without mistakes. Then came the big money. Carolina offered him a huge contract, $20 million for 2 years. Reunited with his college coach, Matt Rule, who had just been hired by the Panthers. Seemed like the perfect fit. The chemistry was there. The system was familiar. Everything pointed to success, but it did not work out. Injuries came. Production fell. The relationship deteriorated. The Panthers traded him to Arizona after just 1.5 seasons. Arizona cut him before the season ended. Miami picked him up off the waiver wire, played some snaps, nothing memorable. San Francisco signed him the next off-season, cut him in training camp. Miami again, practice squad, elevated a couple times. San Francisco again, cut again. And now Washington for the 3rd time this season alone. That track record does not inspire confidence in anyone. It is the type of resume that makes fans scratch their heads, that makes analysts question front office decisions. But there is important context here. Context that explains why Peters keeps coming back to Chosen. Chosen has experience, 9 years in the league, has seen all types of defenses, has played in multiple offensive systems, knows routes, knows adjustments, knows how to read coverages in real time, can play slot, can play outside, can line up at any receiver position and execute the game plan without needing extensive explanations. And most importantly, right now, Washington receiver room is devastated by injuries. Noah Brown, who had been a key piece, is injured. Diami Brown has been inconsistent all season. Luke McCaffrey is still developing as a rookie. Olamide Zacchaeus is limited by minor issues. Depth is a real and urgent problem. Chosen played 1 game this season with Washington. 4 receptions, 36 yards. Nothing spectacular. Nothing that will appear on highlights, but showed exactly what the team needs from a practice squad player. Reliable hands, 0 drops, understood routes without confusion, made no mental mistakes, caused no penalties, did his job professionally and efficiently. For a practice squad player, that is exactly what you need. Do not need an all-pro. Do not need a #1 receiver. Need someone who can come up to the active roster in a Sunday emergency and not destroy the game plan. Someone who knows the terminology. Someone who can execute without extra practice. Peters is not betting the franchise future on Chosen, is not building the offense around him, is covering his bases intelligently. If another receiver gets injured Saturday before the game, needs a body who knows the system. Chosen was already here twice before, already knows Cliff Kingsbury terminology, already has basic chemistry with Marcus Mariota, who will likely be the quarterback while Daniels recovers. That is worth much more than bringing in someone completely new who needs days of practice to catch up. The reality is simple and practical. Chosen is low-cost insurance. A veteran who can give decent snaps if everything falls apart. Will not win games by himself. Nobody expects him to be the hero, but he will not lose them with dumb mistakes either. And on a roster trying to develop youngsters while staying competitive, that kind of stability matters more than it seems. Plus, they released Zach Triner from the practice squad to make room. Triner is long snapper. That means Cameron Cheeseman, the starting long snapper, is completely healthy and secured for the rest of the season. Small roster moves like this keep everything running smoothly. Peters is playing chess while others play checkers. Every decision has a purpose. Every move has a strategic reason. Is signing Robbie Chosen exciting? No. Fans are not going to buy his jersey, will not sell tickets. But is it necessary? Absolutely. Depth wins championships in this league. Teams that make playoffs are the ones with healthy bodies in December and January. And right now, Washington needs all the depth it can get at every position. Chosen knows his role perfectly, is not coming expecting to be a star, comes to work, to be ready, to be professional. And if he never has to play a snap the rest of the season, perfect. That means everyone else stayed healthy. But if they need him on a Sunday, he will be ready without excuses. News 3. JJ McCarthy. Game plan must change after Vikings injury news. Washington travels to Minnesota in week 14. A matchup of 2 teams with identical records. 2 teams trying to salvage some dignity in lost seasons. And they just got important news about the opposing quarterback. JJ McCarthy is back! Cleared concussion protocol, will be under center against the Commanders, and that changes the entire defensive plan that coordinator Joe Witt Jr. was preparing. McCarthy missed week 13 with concussion, one of those injuries the NFL takes very seriously now. Strict protocol, independent evaluations, no shortcuts. Minnesota had to use Max Brosmer in his place, undrafted rookie from New Hampshire, first start of his life in the NFL, and it was an absolute disaster of historic proportions. 4 interceptions, 0 touchdowns, 52 total passing yards. Seattle shut them out 24-0. It was painful to watch even for neutrals. The Vikings could not move the ball at all, could not generate a single point. Brosmer looked completely lost, overwhelmed by the speed of the game, unable to read defenses. The Vikings desperately need McCarthy back, and now they have him. But here is the huge problem. McCarthy has not been good this year. Not at all. In no way. 6 games as starter, 54.1% completions. That is terrible by modern NFL standards. 929 yards in 6 games. That is an average of 155 yards per game. Absolutely unacceptable. 6 touchdowns against 10 interceptions. Negative ratio. Passer rating of 57.9. That is among the worst in the entire league among starters. McCarthy was first-round pick in the 2024 draft. Pick number 10 overall. The Vikings bet their future on him, selected him over other available quarterbacks. Had an impressive pedigree from Michigan, won national championship, showed all the intangibles, leadership, character, football intelligence, but missed his entire rookie season with torn meniscus in his right knee during a preseason game. Surgery, rehabilitation, full year lost of development. Came back this year as undisputed starter, the franchise future, but also missed 5 games with severe high ankle sprain. His development has been constantly interrupted by injuries, and it shows painfully on the field. Has no rhythm with his receivers, has no timing on routes, has no confidence in his decisions. His accuracy issues are evident in every game. High throws, low throws, throws behind receivers, forced interceptions, trying to do too much. For Washington defense, this should be heavenly music. McCarthy is coming off concussion. Those injuries affect timing, affect decision-making, affect confidence. Has no real rhythm with his receivers after missing a full week. Throws lots of interceptions, even when healthy. Pressure makes him visibly uncomfortable. If Washington defensive line can get to him early and often, this game can get ugly fast for Minnesota. The Commanders gave up 27 points against Denver. The defense has struggled all year. Coverage problems. Problems generating consistent pressure. Problems stopping the run. But facing a quarterback with 54% completions and 10 interceptions in just 6 games is exactly the type of opponent they need. No need to respect his arm too much. No need to play conservative. Can play aggressive. Can blitz from all angles. Can force mistakes and capitalize. Minnesota is 3-9. Washington is 3-9. Both teams desperately need wins to keep some morale in the locker room. Both are trying to salvage some dignity in seasons that went to disaster. But Washington has the clear advantage here. Their defense, though inconsistent, can feast against a quarterback struggling like McCarthy. The game plan is obvious to anyone who understands football. Constant pressure from the snap. Creative blitzes from Joe Witt. Tight coverage on receivers to not give easy windows. Force McCarthy to make quick decisions under pressure. He will make mistakes. It is inevitable with his track record. Just have to be in position to capitalize. If Washington can generate 2 or 3 turnovers, convert them to points, this game is theirs to win. It is not the most exciting matchup of the year for national media. 2 losing teams fighting for relevance, neither going to playoffs. But for the Commanders, it is a real opportunity to win on the road, to build some momentum, to give confidence to the youngsters. And with McCarthy returning from injury, vulnerable, the timing could not be better to attack. There you have it. Chosen returns as smart insurance. 3 youngsters prove the future is brighter than we thought. And Minnesota brings back a vulnerable quarterback just in time for our defense to feast. The last 5 weeks will say a lot about this franchise, about who stays for 2026, who goes, and who builds the core of the future. If you want to be the first to know the latest news firsthand, before anyone else, subscribe right now. Do not miss anything.